Hello, I'm Archie Luxury and welcome to the program, fuckers. And today I'd like to talk about what luxury watches have you seen in the field? And what I mean by that is, what luxury watches have you seen, just in your everyday life? And I'm come from a small, well, it's got about 2 to 3 million population, Brisbane, Australia, and you don't see a lot of high-end luxury watches. And I remember when I was working at KBR, I saw this guy who had a yellow gold Audemars Piguet Royal Oak chronograph. It was either a chronograph or a perpetual calendar. It had a lot of dials, and I thought, wow, look at that. You get a lot of Rolex sightings, heaps of tags, not a lot of, I haven't seen that many Pateks in the field. I've seen a few. It's quite interesting. You sort of, you have a quick, discreet look for watches in the field. And I remember I was at a job interview once, and the guy had a Vacheron on, and I said, wow, what a cool Vacheron. I was offered the job, but it didn't really, I declined it for other reasons. But yeah, a Vacheron Constantine dress watch. I think he fucking shit himself that someone would know what the fuck a Vacheron is. And what other pieces have I seen in the field there? There's a lot of fake Daytonas around. APs, you don't see terribly many APs around. It's an interesting thing, and I'd like to hear from the audience. What luxury watches have you seen in the field? And I've seen a few really nice Cartiers. I've seen quite a few. You get a fair few day dates. That's sort of passé. Submariners. But what really cool luxury watches have you seen in the field? And the next question is, if you do spot a luxury watch, if you're a connoisseur yourself, do you say something? Do you say, hey, cool watch? Do you strike up a conversation? And I suppose it depends what your position is. I mean, if you're working at a company and you're a contractor, you kind of shut your mouth and don't say anything. But if you're an equal or an underling, and you see someone's got something, the boss has got something, you can say, oh, that's a nice such and such. And yeah, it's an interesting discussion. I remember I've put my foot in it a few times. Seiko had this model of Seiko which looked exactly like a fucking GMT. It had the Pepsi type of bezel, and the blue and the green rotating bezel, but it was a fucking Seiko. And as soon as you say, oh, nice Rolex you've got there, and it's a Seiko, oh, how do you come back from that? How do you come back from a fuck-up? And, yeah, so you've got to be a bit careful there. And the other problem is, you say, oh, you have a look at something and it's not real, it's fake. And do you tell them? Do you say, hey, I don't think, what do you say? What do you say? I remember working at one place and the guy had this Rolex, which was, it was a fake GMT. And he swore blue it was real, but you don't want to have an argument with these fuckers. And it's an interesting thing. When you see someone in the workplace with a nice watch, do you comment on it? Do you start a conversation? And it can go very, very flat if that person isn't a watch person. And you find with a lot of Rolexes that a lot of the owners aren't enthusiasts, where a brand like, say, Audemars Piguet, they're an enthusiast. Same as Patek, they're more likely to be an enthusiast. And Jaeger-LeCoultre is a very much an enthusiast brand. Breguet's enthusiast. Vacheron's definitely an enthusiast brand. So you've just got to, you got to say your things carefully. And it's an interesting thing. What do you say? Do you? Is it best not to broach the subject? Because the last thing you want to do is go into a workplace and then you're known as the guy with the fucking $30,000 wristwatch. And it's a strange thing. People make moral judgments, and it's quite okay for them to spend $70,000 on a car, to lease a $70,000 car, but your $5,000 wristwatch is extravagant. It's really, I find it quite hilarious how people have this moral thing with money, and it's a very interesting thing. So I'd like to hear from the audience. What have you had as far as sightings in the workplace? And if it's a colleague, do you say something, or do you leave it a little bit of time before commenting? Do you sort of let them just sort of know that you know? What do you say? Because there's so much rules of engagement. The last thing you want to do is let them know that you're a watch nut, and they don't know nothing about it. It's just a watch. Oh, it's just this, and you've kind of put your foot in it. So the problem with the workplace is there's so much different, master-servant relationship. If you're the boss or the manager, you can get away with a bit more. But if you're the underling, it looks a bit strange if you've got a $100,000 watch on when you're just an underling. So you got to be a bit careful. You got to be careful how you broach the subject. So I'd like to hear from the audience. Tell me what you fuckers think. What's the rules for engagement? What do you say? How do you start a conversation with a watch, with a Weiss? Watch idiot servant. That's those crazy collectors. How do you broach the subject? And it's an interesting thing. You got to be so careful, because you don't want to be known as extravagant, or the problem is, as soon as you say, oh, you're a bit of a watch person, then when they go to the printer and you're printing out a colour brochure or a catalogue or an article, oh, it's him, he's printing out bloody articles again. So you've kind of blown your cover. They know it's you, and hear what the audience thinks there. But sometimes it's best not to expose all your cards. And the worst thing is you say to someone, oh, I've got this watch, and you just have a general conversation. Then it goes around the office, oh, he's got a $30,000 wristwatch, and people come, oh, give us a look at your $30,000 watch, and they don't understand that you've made sacrifices, or you're really a collector and you love these things, but they make judgments, value judgments. And I mean, if you're a contractor, man, your job is to make sure your fucking contract is extended for as long as fucking possible. I mean, you got to get onto the gravy train. There's no point wrecking your gravy train, for a few ego strokes. You got to be so fucking careful. This is the world we live in, and these are hard times. I mean, we've just come out of the global financial crisis, and I mean, you tell me this now, fuckers. Do you think the world is better now than it was pre-GFC? Man, it's a fucking hard place. And there's people who are really struggling, and excessive consumption, even if it's for Holy Trinity brand type watches, may not be seen in the same light as it would have been in, say, the thriving 80s. And it's an interesting discussion there. So I'd like to hear from the audience. Tell me about watches you've seen in the field. Tell me if you have struck up conversations with fellow enthusiasts, and tell me if they've fallen on their fucking ass. I'm Archie Luxury. Tell me what you fuckers think of that.